Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sea Live podcast. My name is Sam, and as always, I have my trusted friend and podcast sidekick, Mr. Christopher Barnes. How you doing, mate?
Hey, how are you,
Chris?
mate?
I'm all right. It's another week. Third week of lockdown 2.0.
I don't even know, mate. I'm living like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day at the moment.
It does feel very Groundhog Day-esque, although,
But this is more than ever at the moment for me. I just feel like Bill Murray. I just feel like there's a beaver or whatever. What did he get out of the tree to determine the winter? I don't even know. But Murray, I'm in Bill Murray zone at the moment. I feel like I haven't spoken to you properly.
No, well, we've been very, very busy, haven't we? We've been doing our own things. Obviously, me and LMA doing my ambassador role, speaking to the kids, power to the kids, power to the students. They've got an exciting week next week. I'll tell you a little secret. Potentially might be speaking to the big man, Mr. Williams, all those students.
Oh,
so
really?
Not Father Christmas. No, not Father Christmas. But Robbie, apparently so. It's incoming. So there's loads of stuff going on. I'm a bit jealous because I missed out on all these workshops.
Yeah, but you're mates with him.
You can't say that. You can't say that.
Your mate, you've stayed in his house, you've used his toilets and all that, so I'd say you're practically better.
I was on his tennis court, doing that old chestnut. Right. How's the house going, Chris? How's the house going? What's up with what's up all that? Concrete galore?
Just tons of concrete everywhere. Just wheelbarrows, concrete, leaks, drips. You name it, I've done it today.
But it's about getting your hands dirty, am I right?
Oh, mate, they're nearly falling off at the moment. I'm going to play this bass. That's all I want to know.
Guys, we've actually got some exciting news for Up All Night. Fingers crossed with the announcement that Boris will make, hopefully on the 2nd, so hopefully it goes back to tiered lockdown, so the likes of restaurants, pubs, clubs, Grand Central will be open. On the 19th of December, Up All Night will be performing at Grand Central. They are doing a special Christmas jumper evening. There is another expletive word that I missed out at the beginning, but we'll skip over that. Just make sure it's your really rubbish jumpers that you bring along. Yes. Really rubbish ones. And we'll be singing and having a great time. There's going to be actually a projection with all the words onto our Christmas songs as well, so you can have a chance to sing along as well. So that's going to be great as well. But on to go on.
Yeah, speaking of singing, go on. Yeah, speaking of singing, we've got a great guest. You introduced this fantastic singer.
Well, I've known this guest for over when did I meet? I met Jen in 2013, 14. I might be wrong, but essentially we used to do semi-opera or operettas together in the Gilbert and Sullivan Societies in Southport. But Jen has gone on to perform in concerts, in concerts, recitals, and opera productions around the UK and Europe as well. So it is my pleasure to introduce my friend Jennifer Lee. Hiya, how are you doing?
Hey!
Hello, how are you guys?
We're great, absolutely great. And Jen, do you know what the funny thing is? Like, I always see you on the train going from London, and I want you to tell the story of the last time that I saw you getting the train from London to Liverpool. What did I have?
Oh, that was so funny. You were banging on the window in M&S, carrying that bloody big blue bag.
I don't think Chris knows this, but Chris...
Was it Jen you met on the train?
It was Jen that I met on the train when I went down to London to get the Premier League trophy. And
somebody on the train who was from Anfield.
That's right. Yeah.
It's so weird.
It was just the weirdest train journey ever, because I thought my train ticket, I got the 7 o'clock, which is known as the peak train. So it's usually businessmen, not me. I'm meant to be on this train. Anyway, I'm saying, Jen, I see Jen in M&S and she's getting, her tea for the evening or whatever. And I'm trying to run for this train. Anyway, wrong train, not the correct time. met up with Jen afterwards, and we sat on the train and we had a good chinwag and a good chat, and a good catch up. But obviously, the seat next to Jen was occupied by the Premier League trophy, which again was our luck that Liverpool would win it, because I know, Jen, you're a big Liverpool fan yourself, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
And you go,
Right.
you try and go the game as much as, well, obviously not at the minute, but you watch the Reds every night, or well, every time they're on.
Yeah, I do. I haven't been for ages to Anfield though, because obviously I've been down south, but I do try to go as much as I can. Yeah, it's hard to get tickets though.
It's very difficult. I mean, the last time I went, my little sister actually won tickets, and those were in the like the special leather seats. We get free food, well, included with your ticket. But that was the last time I went, and that was what, well, 2019, the season before. So it's scary to think that, you know, those stadiums are empty now and will be probably for the foreseeable future. But there's hope on the horizon with that new vaccine. So hopefully we can get into football stadiums, and more importantly, get into venues. I'm going to take this moment to tell you to go and follow our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, and also on Instagram as well. On Facebook, we are at CLive. Please, if you're watching the stream right now, do share to your friends, family, and acquaintances as well. On Twitter, we are at CLive Editor1. Make sure you do follow us on Twitter. The man that runs the Twitter is Christopher Barnes, and he's been tweeting loads of different things recently as well. And also on Instagram as well, at CLive UK. You can find all of our latest and greatest acts that are on there for available when these pubs, clubs, and venues become available and they are open again. You can book them at your pleasure. Jen, you've took a weird route into opera singing. Obviously, you don't wake up as a 4 and 5-year-old and want to be an opera singer. Where's the influence? Who's influenced you as a young person growing up to make you make this decision of going into the genre of opera?
My background in this is quite weird because I had absolutely no interest in it whatsoever for most of my life. Yeah, so I did like a history degree. And it was only when I think it was my 18th birthday, I went to Venice, saw an opera there. First one I'd ever seen, and I just loved it. And then like, a couple of years later, I took my first singing lesson with a local teacher, who then passed me on to a teacher at the Royal Northern, and that was it really. He sort of encouraged me that, you know, I could have a career if I worked for 10 years and trained for 10 years to do that. And that was it really. I just didn't look back since then.
Well, you've got to have a bit of natural talent to. You obviously can sing. You can't just walk into that career. Imagine me, Sam, walking into that career. It's just not happening. You've got to have a bit of natural ability. And I like Sam, and I want a little confession. How was Sam's opera?
Oh, he was great. He was so good, honestly.
That means a lot. Thank you. It's funny though, because obviously, you know, we're similar ages, and you know, growing up, no one of my, you know, none of my friends I can turn to and go, I sing opera, guys, and you're gonna really love it, and I'm gonna dress up as, you know, as a jester, you know, and perform in the gondoliers, you know, do you know what I mean? You know, Yeoman of the Guard. These are all names to Chris that are just going through, that I'm going through, that Chris probably doesn't have a clue. But essentially, yeah, these are, you know, semi-operas that me and Jen used to do, and you know what? It was escapism for me. It was escapism for me to be able to go to these lessons, to be able to sing with like-minded people that enjoyed singing that sort of music, and it was escapism. What was it like for you for the at Southport, the Gilbert and Sullivan Society? What was the feeling in doing them shows?
It was honestly like the first thing I'd ever done. So I think I'd done a concert at like a local church, like about 5 minutes down the road. First thing I ever did. And John, drummer John,
I do remember John.
he was at the concert and he was like, "You need to come to my society," and that was it. So that was literally the story of how I ended up there.
For those that don't know, John Hilton was a very enthusiastic character. Let's say that. Who knew every single Gilbert and Sullivan semi-opera, operetta, inside out, back to front, directed me and you, Jen, and literally the man was a walking encyclopedia of Gilbert and Sullivan and semi-opera. And again, he was another influence of mine that helped me and guided me during that time, along with my singing teacher at the time, Ruth Anderson. So big props to them. So you've done your history degree, which is mad in itself. That what kind of drove you to history as well? Was it something that you were just good at generally?
Yeah, I've always had an interest in it since being a child, actually, and I wanted to. Originally, my plan for years was to become a journalist. So I started at university doing English and history, and then I dropped English to read. um, and then just continued with history then, and I absolutely loved it. I miss it actually. I do miss academia quite a bit. Um, but yeah, that was such a nice experience, and I'm glad I did that. Rather than going through the conservatoire system from like 18 years old or whatever. I'm quite glad that I did something different.
A few people have said to me who've come into a career in music, and they said they're glad they didn't do the whole from a 5-year-old right to the process. They kind of fell into it, and then from that, the passion has increased more. Because I find when I'm working with musicians who start from there, they get bored, and you have to drag them through that 15, 16-year-old stages. But when you're a little bit older and you've been 15 or 16 and done whatever stupid things that you've done, then you can enjoy yourself more. I'm not talking about you here, by the way, Sam.
No, you'd never talk about me like that, would you? Ever?
Not on screen.
No, just behind the scenes. And then also, obviously, moving on, the history degree is, a fantastic achievement. But I think the one that we need to talk about is, going to the Royal Academy, like unbelievable, and getting the scholarship as well on top of that. And I remember speaking to you. I remember seeing you getting on the Merseyrail train to Ormskirk, and you saying, "I'm going to go and I'm going to try and pursue a career." And I remember thinking, "That's tough, man. Like, that is really tough, especially going down the opera route, but also trying to get into the Royal Academy as well." I was like, fair play. And you did it. You currently... Are you in London now, Jen?
No, I came back to Liverpool on Monday to work, but I'm gonna just stay here now, I think, because I was living on my own in London, so it was nicer to be with the family, really.
Yeah. Especially during this time as well. I mean, lockdown is difficult, for everyone in that regard. Normality is kind of stagnant. Life is stagnant at the minute. It's very interesting. What's London like? I mean, I'm gonna go back to Liverpool in general, and I know the love for Liverpool, the football club, and Liverpool, the city. But how big of a difference is London as a performer going down there?
It's a massive difference. I mean, because I did a year over in Dublin as well, in the conservatoire there, and that was like a very similar vibe to Liverpool, really. People are very similar, and it was very like at home. And then going to London, it was so different. It's like competition's very like fierce. You're sort of more anonymous in London as well. Yeah, it's quite daunting, but now I feel quite at home there, I suppose. It's a shame that the time has been cut short quite a lot by Corona, obviously.
Yep.
But yeah, I've loved my time there, but it's definitely a more competitive and serious sort of place.
Yeah.
I think I knew
Yeah,
what I was getting into.
but at least I think that's with every genre, even pop style, rock style, opera style, classical style. I can imagine the competition is just unbelievable because you're constantly battling with other people.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true, and especially at the moment because like everybody's applying for young artist programs and opera schools, and that they're all shut in by the day because obviously the young artist programs and opera schools are based on performing to crowds of people. So if they
Wow.
can't do that, then they're just shutting down completely. So that means that loads of people are now applying just for a few courses. So it's just getting even more competitive at the moment. But it's also just the way that like the conservatoires operate and stuff like that, what they demand from you um, is quite different from anything that I've experienced before because they set such like ridiculous standards basically. But it's great. It's great to aspire to be like that, but they do layer the pressure on and everything. But it's part of the whole thing, I guess.
Is there anyone there who's just like when you see them, like because people must look at you and think, "Wow, this girl can sing." But is there anyone there who you think, "Oh my, these just unbelievable"?
Um, yeah, there are definitely singers. What in the academy? Yeah,
Yeah, in the academy.
yeah. I mean, everybody's like sort of fairly level, I
Yeah.
guess, when you get to that kind of place. Um, but it's such a pleasure to work with these people. Like it really is. Like some of the voices are amazing, and just their presence on stage and their artistic ideas and everything. It's great, and more so the teachers as well and coaches that we get to work with are just amazing. Really, I do feel really privileged to be able to go there. Has been amazing.
What's what's the process then for an opera? Because I don't really know much. I've seen a couple. I've seen Don Giovanni and
Yeah.
Barbara of Seville. So yeah, your textbook first stage opera level one. I've been there.
Oh, that's good. You got Mozart in there. That's good.
Well, there's a bit going on, but and I think that's the because you those ones you recognise some of the pieces.
Yeah.
So they're the popular pieces in terms of classical performances. So if Sam and I have got a show, we rehearse for weeks and weeks and weeks, don't we, Sam?
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
And so what's the process for an opera?
It's kind of similar, I guess. We'd have about I'd say about a month of rehearsals, but they would be fairly sparse for the first sort of 3 weeks, and then we have a really intense week on show week, where you'd be sort of at the theatre from some really ridiculous hour of the morning all the way until like sort of 10 o'clock at night or something, with very few breaks as well. So that week, the show week is always really crazy. But yeah, it's I'd say it's quite similar, probably. I have no idea, but probably.
Things change as you're rehearsing, or are they strictly this is how it is, or there's variations of things?
With regards to direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the people do change things like sort of the night before and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, actually, we'll just put you on a table while you sing this top C," and you're like, "Okay." Yeah, you're working with artists, so they're just sort of always thinking on new things, and you know, it's good. You have to be on your toes for sure. Yeah, but with regards to the music, I guess the conductors do tend to stay fairly. They sort of know what they want. The directors are a bit more sort of like, oh, let's try this out. Let's try this out. So yeah, there's a bit.
Does it ever go when you're doing it, you think, oh my God, what are they actually doing to me? Do you ever think that?
A lot, yeah. We just recently did some opera scenes at the Academy, and it was socially distanced. That was very weird. It was very, very weird. I did like Act 3 of La Boheme, so it's like a breakup scene. Obviously, wasn't allowed anywhere near the tenor or anything. So that was really strange. And also, you have to be 6 meters away from the person that you're singing to. So it's 20 foot. So we had to basically just sing out to the audience, but there was no audience as well. So it was weird. It was live streamed, but there was no live audience. So it was very, very strange experience.
So things have been happening over stream, yeah?
Yeah. There's been quite a lot happening. I think the Royal Opera House has been putting stuff on. The ENO, I think, have been putting live performances on whilst they could, and then I think they're going to be streaming things. The conservatoires in London have been putting operas on, or like sort of semi-staged operas, and doing opera scenes. Yeah, things have been happening.
They're trying to tick over. That's the most important, isn't it? At least there's an option to try and do the online operas. Because they are trying to do online gigs at the moment, aren't they? I've seen a few super big acts have been trying to sell tickets, like Ticketmaster for online gigs, and it's just
Boy George is apparently doing one. I know Boy George is doing it.
He's doing one as well, isn't he?
Potentially,
but it's like, I don't know. I think there's something nice about going into a theatre and enjoying the orchestra and listening to the music. You can do that on your earphones. Do you know what I mean? I think being in that venue and that atmosphere is fantastic. Especially, I used to like going the Phil in Liverpool and just listening to the music, just the orchestra. And I haven't done it for a while, but I don't know. There's something nice about listening to an orchestra.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, we're not allowed them at the moment, so they were going to do anything we're doing at the Academy is just accompanied by a pianist at the moment, because obviously the pit is so small, really. When they can't do it. They can't do it.
Does that affect the overall thing for you? Is that something to be difficult to change too?
Well, it's obviously a lot nicer to sing with an orchestra. I don't know. It just sort of brings more emotion out in the performance and everything, because you've heard an orchestra, they're amazing. So it's just it's just totally different performance when you have that rather than just a piano. I mean, don't get me wrong, the pianists are amazing what they did and everything. They are great. And we're very grateful to be able to even be performing in the middle of a pandemic. Like, very lucky to be able to do it all. So it was a strange experience, but I really did feel quite privileged to be able to do it, because I wasn't sure when I'd be able to get back on a stage again.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can next year, and that's most important. Do you do, obviously, the touring shows? Do you do touring shows as well, or do you just London based?
To be honest, not at the moment, because the Academy they work you quite hard, so you don't have a lot of time ever else. But I mean, it's something that I would like to do, obviously, when I've got the time. But I haven't really been doing that anytime.
Not anytime soon, anyway. Let's be honest.
Or time soon, no, sadly.
I mean, we're all in the same boat, aren't we? I mean, every musician, every instrumentalist, singer, we're all stuck. Some were having to retrain, or even though we all disagree with it. Bills still have to be paid, rent has to be paid. It is laughable, this whole retrain to, it is laughable, but we don't talk politics on this show, so moving swiftly on. What? It's true, we don't do it. I mentioned...
No, we don't. Even though I've retrained as a painter and decorator, I'm still formally going to be a musician for the long term.
Yeah,
it's
got to be done. Well, Jenny, you've got journalism to fall back on. So there you go.
One.
You've got
But I
journalism.
do.
You've got that, and you've also got a
Historian as well.
history teacher. There you go. Sorted.
Here we are.
There you go. That'll pay the bills for you, Jen.
Yeah, I've got to ask this question because I like my history. You know me, Sam. What's your favourite history topic?
History fact.
History facts.
Yeah.
No, I like topic.
And topic.
Go on, do your fact first. What's your favourite history?
Oh, I
fact?
don't know. It's been a while. It's been a while since I graduated from there.
Topic then. Are you into the Titanic? by any chance?
Where we go. We always get to
What?
Titanic out.
Oh. Do you?
Go on,
Look,
Chris.
I've even got one here. I've built one here. Look.
Do you know, weirdly, I was like, when I was a kid, I was like a nerd. I still am. But I try and hide it more now. And
I don't know my name.
I know, I can tell with the Titanic behind you.
I built that with my own bare hands, Jen.
Oh no. I used to be like so fascinated by the Titanic though when I was younger, strangely.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a Liverpool link as well. Sam doesn't. I don't know if my. Do you know one of the worst things that ever happened to my Titanic? This is a true story. I don't know if Sam knows this. Came home from work once, and I used to have it on the. What are you laughing at, Sam?
I'm just waiting for the moment you're gonna say something really bad. Go on.
No, this is a true story, right? It was the most devastating thing. I took weeks to build it, right? I'd even fashioned a light into it myself. Right.
Okay.
Look at Sam laughing, right? And I came home and the cat I had it on the fireplace. The cat had knocked it off.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be worse than that. That's fine.
No, right? What? So it was just hanging. It was just this hanging Titanic. I was gutted, absolutely gutted.
Did it not resemble the actual wreckage? Did it not resemble the wreckage, like?
Wreckage, but I put it all back together, painstakingly glued it. Even put a little radio wire on the top that wasn't a part of the sea. It's all the detail, Jen. You can't buy that.
Are you creative, Jen? Like, would you ever sit down and steer away from the opera and maybe write pop songs, rock songs? Have you ever just thought I could write a song today?
No, not at all. I wish I was creative like that. I am not. I just do what other people are in.
Listen,
it's
a business. The covers business is a game. Me and Chris make money from it, so you can as well. But Chris,
it's hard to pick the right cover for the right gig sometimes.
Yeah.
We have hours of conversation with the band, and we're messaging. Oh, what about this? And you think, oh no, that no, yeah, oh no, and then it's really hard to pick the perfect set.
Is that similar with you, Jen? When you've got a recital coming up, a performance. Obviously, you've got a repertoire of a good selection of songs, but do you take into venue? That venue doesn't like this, or who's there? Is it that I don't want to say complicated, but do you have a lot of thought? Does a lot of thought go into what song you do in certain venues?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some people will request things obviously as well, depending on what it is you're doing. Like for like private events or something like that, they'll want like sort of the popular whatever. And then if you're doing a recital for RAM or something for the academy, they are a little bit snobby about things, so they would want like they'd want things to be done in a certain way, so it has like a theme or a structure to it or whatever, and if it's quite nicely thought out. So it is quite a skill to pick out a recital program, actually, which a skill that I do not have, because I am basically just like these ones because I know I can sing these. And my teacher's like, no, you need to be thinking better than this. So yeah, it is. I really find that challenging, actually, like picking out program lists and stuff like that. That really does challenge me. So yeah, I feel your pain.
But we spend hours. It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously with this gig that's just come up recently, we're thinking of Christmas songs, but obviously if restrictions are in place, then you can't get up and dance. They've got to stand. They can't even stand. They've got to have a meal. They can't get up. What sort of angle are we going at again with Christmas songs again? Are we wanting to get them to sing along? The premise of our band is floor fillers. That is literally what we say on our poster. We are floor filling covers band. So it's difficult during this time, but I know for a fact that we'll get them up and we'll get them singing secretly, Chris.
Well, I've got it, yeah. And we're all, well, the thing is now, we're all learning, and we've said to the band, all learn your piece, the parts that you need to learn, and we'll just get together and rehearse it when we can. Because
we did try Zoom, didn't we? We did try Zoom, and it didn't work. It did not work.
You can't do it. So we're all got to individually learn the things, and then hopefully come together. And I don't know if that's what classical musicians are doing at the moment. Do you think they are?
Yeah, I mean that was happening during lockdown, and I did do some like Zoom concerts and stuff. And the best acoustic in my house, my parents' house here, is in the kitchen. So I was like singing like Puccini next to my kettle.
I do that all the time.
Very weird.
I was just gonna say, you do Mozart by the bread maker, Chris, don't you?
I do it in a wheelbarrow at the moment. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's really surreal. It's very strange.
Did you think we'd ever be in this position, Jen, with COVID?
Absolutely not. No, I absolutely did not think that. And I mean, it's really damaging for my industry. I mean, it looks like it's sort of about to die at some point. With the Royal Opera House having to sell like paintings to keep open and stuff.
Oh, that's horrendous. Is that what's happening? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably the biggest opera institution in our country. So it's quite worrying. So yeah, but I try to keep positive.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there'll be fundraisers. There'll be, I can see, maybe celebrities putting in investments to keep the likes of these establishments that have been going for, hundreds of years afloat during this time. I was watching the One Show the other night. Dolly Parton was on, and I only found out, this is my fact of the day. She donated, I think it was a lot of money basically for the Pfizer COVID jab, and that's got 95%. That it's going to work. So, these people, as probably as much as they're in the public eye, they probably don't want that information getting out, but they're there, and they've got the money. They've got the money to help our industry. All of our industries, and if they can put it towards a vaccine, I can. Last week there was no tunnel in this, painting of COVID and the light at the end of the tunnel. There was no tunnel. There wasn't even a train, but I can see that there is a little tiny speck of light, but I still think there's a very, very long way to go.
Isn't it? And if people can do anything, we've got to do it. Do you know what I mean? Any shows, any performances. Do you know what I think it's affecting as well? I've seen it, and I'm in it as well with the things they do. But like, kids are being denied now the chance to do arts, because the schools are not allowing arts to happen at this point. So it's now the kids have lost. How are they going to lose 18 months of learning an instrument, 18 months of singing lessons? Do you know what I mean? It's really sad, and I think that likes of all of us, we're all going to struggle in ways, and we've all struggled. But I feel like it's going to come back with even bigger. I really do. People want to see these shows.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I've gained like such a perspective on everything, really, but also just on how much the arts really means to me personally, and having that taken away from us for a bit just really hit home, actually.
Mad, isn't it? It's stuff you take for granted. It's stuff and when you say if you're doing a recital or Sam and I rehearsing, you pack up, you go home, and you think, oh, that's it. But when you haven't done it for nearly a year, really does hit home. And it's the only thing I've honestly struggled with through the whole thing is to being on stage. It's really, and now this second lockdown, it's like, oh, when is it going to end? It will, and we're just going to be mentally busy. You're going to be all over the place when you're singing because people are going to want entertaining.
Yeah, craving culture back. I know. How did you feel? How did you feel after lockdown when you performed again? Did you feel nervous being back on stage, or?
Well, I haven't performed. If I'm honest with you, I haven't performed since the start of the year. Sam's done a few shows.
Yeah, I did a few.
And
go on.
I said to you, was it like starting again? That was my question to you, wasn't it?
It was. It felt for me. It was like starting again. You know, it was weird enough being outdoors, which was one. The Grand Central venue I actually performed at, we were in the gardens where everyone was socially distancing, and obviously it's outdoors, so obviously it's a different sound rather than indoors. Outdoors, it was probably the first time I've done a solo gig outdoors. You know, to a top PA system and good sound and everything, and it's crazy. And in answer to your question, Jen, yes, it was scary because we've all been out the game for 6 months, and we're all on a level playing field. There's no like, oh well, you're a tribute. Well, so's this singer over here, and it has become a case of across the board, pubs and clubs were looking for obviously the cheapest way to get entertainment on their pub or club. So it goes back to the people who do it for free or experience, and of course, experience pays the bills, doesn't it, Chris?
Or sort of like, oh, this is your profile.
all of our followers will follow you on Instagram because Instagram pays the bills. That's literally what it is, though. And I in some instances, I've had gigs at pubs, and obviously we deal with Sea Live on a regular basis. Me and Chris, supplying acts all around the northwest before COVID. But essentially, yeah, that you get inquiries. I'd like a 5-piece band with a DJ set in between your two 45-minute sets for £50, please. And you're like, what? £50? You want a 5-piece and a DJ for £50? Like, what planet are you living on? Like, literally.
Madness.
So again, it's opened our eyes, because our artists on our books are we're pleading for gigs and needing gigs, but there wasn't means to facilitate those gigs because everywhere was shut. It was difficult for me to keep morale up.
It will come back. Honestly, everything's going to come back.
I think it's definitely gonna
boom.
Yeah, it's gonna boom. Definitely gonna boom.
It's gonna boom. Is there anyone that has inspired you, Jen, to as you sing? Have you got any inspiration?
Any singers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest inspiration is Maria Callas, probably. She was the singer in the 1960s, like in the sort of golden age of opera. She's probably the person who's inspired me the most. Whenever I have like a new piece to learn or something, I go and see if she sang it first.
I do that. I feel like I always go and see if other people have sang it, see if it's a cover worth covering again. But again, with opera, it's a different ball game. You know, there's different because obviously the technique that you use. I know that you've when I was speaking to you, you mentioned in the likes of Ron Morris and his. You know, you've worked with him. I just want you to kind of give in layman's terms what the technique is that he provides he teaches to the likes of yourself because you obviously work with him.
Oh wow.
A 5-second. No, I'm only mad.
5 words. No, I'm joking.
Basically, there are 2 schools of pedagogy basically that are happening at the moment in classical music. So there's accent method, which is what Ron Morris does. It's just coming from like the Janis Chapman school of thinking, and then there's the bel canto technique, which is about 500 years old, the old Italian school way of thinking. And from what I can gather, like most singers, including myself, I have 2 teachers. One of them's an accent teacher, and one of them is a bel canto teacher, and the combination seems to work a dream. But yeah, Ron is like a speech therapist. He's written some great books as well. What is this? I can't remember what his book's called. I think it's called If in Doubt, Breathe Out. I think it's called. It's such a good book. It was straight to the point. But they sort of deal with the physiology of singing. Basically, it's very scientific, and it's very sort of like do this, this, and this, and it's going to work. It's almost like a recipe sort of thing. You sort of just follow the way through. Very, very technical. Whereas bel canto is very sort of image based. Would you have had that, Sam? Would you have had the bel canto method more?
All imagery based. The one technique, well, it's exactly what you've just basically said. Imagery, breathing. The breath comes first, but the imagery was an accordion for me, and the breath comes in, and you're forcing the breath out, and that's you're riding, and also riding the wave of breath as well was another imagery as well. So yeah, definitely the bel canto.
Yeah, the old school method. And you can't beat them. The old Italian school method. But I found accent method and working with Ron just amazing. Like it's just been so good, and it just changes your voice really quickly, and gets you to understand it. It depends how your mind works. Like my mind does. I do like to sort of be quite scientific and understand why I'm doing things. So that did work quite well for me. And yeah, it explains breathing as well, because I don't know about you, Sam, but for years I really didn't know what I was doing. I was like, it was so vague.
Can I be completely honest? Me too. Because obviously you're told to breathe, and your natural reaction is to just go, like I'm breathing, like that. That's literally what you do. But over time, lessons, the control, the placement, alignment, these are all key elements that you would not think would go into singing, but do, and they make a hell of a difference, especially what shoes you wear, which is baffling for me, and still baffle. Shoes, Chris. Shoes.
Hard to sing in heels.
Well, if you can imagine, obviously, a gentleman singing, okay, yeah, you're probably in like a nice, black, smart shoe. But obviously for the likes of Jen, who are in like stiletto heels or even just heels in general, like you're practicing essentially on your feet anyway. So it's difficult to change. So I know for a fact that people who come to rehearsals wear their shoes that they're going to wear on the performance, just to get the right alignment for one, but also get in that, again, imagery of this is me on the stage performing. So it is fascinating. It really is, and obviously, it's something that I think not wearing stilettos, but yeah.
I'm gonna see. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I got my stilettos on a Grand Central so I can get this bass solo on Sweet Caroline.
No.
Speaking Speaking of opera singers, though, my Theo, I've got a son, he's 3. He loves Pavarotti.
Oh, good lad.
Sam's seen him. You've seen him singing Pavarotti,
Do you know what? That kid makes my day sometimes, you know. He really does.
He bangs it out. He goes, he sings it. He knows the words, yeah.
Oh, that is so cute.
But at the same time, he likes his music, doesn't he, Chris? You never know what type of music he's going to ask for of a morning.
My Spotify. No, you get your yearly Spotify sort of analytics of what you've listened to over the year. Right, I've got Frozen. I've got the Okie Kokie, Pavarotti, and Iron Maiden.
But it is. I get these videos sent to him of Theo, and it's the funniest thing because they're, "Hey, Pavarotti," and you got him a little drum, didn't you, Chris? Little drum with the microphone.
And he uses the stick as a mic now.
He's following in the right footsteps.
I'll get Sam to show you.
I'll have to show everyone. Guys, we're coming to the end of our podcast, unfortunately. Jen, is there any social medias or websites that people should be following, having a look at to see what you're up to in the future?
Oh, probably my Instagram is the best place to look because I still need to update my website. I'll get on that. Yeah, but probably my Instagram is the best place to have a look if I'm putting any events on or anything. So that's Jennifer Lee Soprano. That's it. Yeah.
Can I ask, because there's obviously going to be people, how do you get into opera? What, if it was a young child or anyone thought, what's the first step to go into that career?
Well, I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask because I did just sort of trip up.
A history degree. Hey!
I know, probably not that. Most people have had some sort of training or whatever since they were really young, whether it be piano or something, you know. And then they start taking the lessons when they reach their teens. They start taking singing lessons then. And then when they're 18, they would go to the conservatoire for 4 years. Then they maybe do a PG dip after that. Then they do the masters for 2 years. Then they do opera school for 2 years. Then you do a young artist program. It's a long way.
I think I'm too old to start.
Listen, you know, anyone can do it. And if you want to be an opera singer, we'll support you.
The only opera that I'll be doing is go comparing the adverts. That's about it.
And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Jen, for joining us this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast this evening. Make sure you do follow Jen on Instagram. And she will update her website because she's just said it on the podcast, so that means it's true. I remind the folks at home about our social medias as well. Make sure that you do follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram on the following: @CLive for Facebook, @CLive Enter1 for Twitter, and @CLive UK for Instagram. Chris, that's been another edition of the CLive podcast. Thank you very much.
See you next week, everyone.
Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the CLive podcast with another amazing guest. Stay safe out there. Good night and God bless. Bye-bye.